Hi, I'm Sandy Genovese, and today we are making a dimensional display themed for summer. It has photos inside. I'm going to open each page separately. We have done dioramas before that look kind of like one of these. This has 5 individual pages, and the pages are attached together so that this is the 5th one, so that when the person who you give it to pulls the front cover around until it touches the back cover, like so, either with ribbons that tie, or in this case with a paper clip that sits on the end, it now holds it closed so that it creates this wonderful, it's called a 5-pointed star book, and if I tilt it, you'll see why. You're looking into the 5 points of a star. And I happen to theme this one for summer, and you'll notice if you look at it, in some instances I have palm trees, in some instances I have beach umbrellas, I have sand and waves, all different decorations that are sitting inside each of the elements of this display, of this 5-pointed star. Well, to begin with, we need to look at creating the layers. So I've set them here so that you can see how it works. The front layer, the shortest one, this is a 6-inch square, and we are going to cut a window out of it, but first let me show you. The first layer is a 6-inch square, the last layer is 6 by 9, and you can see this is barely sitting there. We're going to look at how to place where the photos go so that they show through nicely, and we'll stick him down better. But because it folds closed as a book, every layer is going to fold in half. So this front cover that's a 6-inch square is going to fold in half. This back layer is going to fold in half. And the 2 inside layers, I have a wave border and a sand border. And notice that the wave border, I've added white caps with paper. You could also just color with a white pen like you've seen. We've done that before. But the important thing is that when they're all lined up and flush on one end, you can see how the lengths are graduated as you look at each of the other layers. So if this is a 6-inch square and this is 6 by 9, these are going to be somewhere in between. Once you have all those layers developed, but don't worry about embellishing yet, let's look at creating the window on this front layer. What I did, since it's a 6-inch square and I wanted there to be a base, if you look at my diorama or my star book, this bottom section is a little fatter than the top, just because I have things I wanted to glue down and I wanted to attach them to the bottom. So I have a section here, a rectangle, and my rectangle is 4.5 by 4 3/8, and it's folded in half, and I'm just going to wrap it around the fold, and then with a pencil I'm going to trace around this layer. And what that gives me is the beginnings of the window. So now if I leave it closed, you could either take it over to the paper cutter, because they're straight lines, you could cut these first 2 lines, but just holding it together as I cut along the bottom, and I'm going to hold it together as I cut along the top. I'm using longer scissors just because to cut a long straight line it's a little faster. So then I'm going to come in here, following my pencil line, I'm going to cut the rest. This just gives me a nice window, but still with edges big enough that they can attach to the other layers. So now notice that the pencil line is on the mountain fold side. It's going to be used on the valley fold side, so I don't even have to worry about erasing any pencil. But now I'll bring all these back up so you can see. Now you have all the layers, and it helps for you as you're doing the adhesive. You can see, you're going to be able to see, okay, is Ori going to show, or do I need, it feels to me like he might be good if I moved him up just a tiny bit. So before I stick him down, I'm going to take, notice that because it has to fold and it's a real photograph, it's so thick that it works better if I cut it along the fold line, and I want to move them up just a little bit. So I'm going to not stick down very tight yet. I'm going to add adhesive to the back of this and do the same thing. I'm going to tuck it along the fold so that when it's opened up, you won't even notice that it's been slit. But now it folds nicely without, let's see that this can come a little more this way. There we go. So you have a little seam and the photo on both sides. The other elements, because I've already gone ahead to save time and I've already just torn the sand border and I've already added the white caps, I want to start by adding the layers. So I'm going to start first and I'll add the blue. I'm going to put adhesive just on the edge. So on one side I'll add my adhesive and fasten it down. And I'm going to take and add adhesive to the other end. And when I close this and press, you can see how you've added that first layer. I'm going to do the same thing now with the next layer. I'm going to put adhesive on the back side of the sand, and I'm going to go ahead and put adhesive on the second side. So I'm going to place this in one corner. Remember, they're all folded in half, so it's easy enough to lay this down and then close it up and press. Now I've added the second layer. I'm going to do the same thing now with the final layer. This time, however, I'm going to put my adhesive all the way up the side. I want this whole border to be fastened on both ends. So I'm going to put adhesive along this edge and do the same thing with the other edge. And I'll start by tucking this one along the bottom as well as the entire side and press, and then lay this down and press. So I've created most of the elements of one section of this 5-pointed star. If you look at, they're all different, but if you look at, let's see, this one is that I'm doing, I have the photos from here. So the other elements that I need to place inside is, I need to place a photo here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put adhesive on Ori, and I'm going to put adhesive along the side and the bottom. Your photos, you know, depending on the design of your photos, it'll be up to you to decide where they most make the best sense. But this is perfect for adding this detail here. And then I want to add this beach umbrella. It has to be fastened someplace. So I'm going to stick one edge along this side border and then one edge along the bottom, and I'll go ahead, I'll figure out where I'm going to place it, and I can see that I just need some adhesive along the bottom and along this edge. So let me go ahead and put a little adhesive along the edge and along the bottom. As I'm doing this, I'm realizing it probably would have been easiest to add this, to decorate this yellow section while it was loose, before it was attached. So you can always learn from my glitches. I can still put it together, and I'll try to do it so you can see what I'm doing. But this process would have been much easier if I did it before it was stuck into a book, the book form, and all I was doing was just attaching it to the yellow. So it's attached now in those two places. Fold and really press so the adhesive can really take hold. That gives you one of the 5 sections. When you look here, you can see this. This is the section we just did. You just continue, and I used the wave and the sand border in all 5, but I used palm trees and different themed beach umbrellas, and of course completely different photos in each layer. Once you have each layer done, all you need to do is glue the back of one of these to the front of the next one, and you end up with this perfectly. So if you looked at this, here is the one that we just did, and it's glued. If I turn this, you can see if I separate this a little bit with my finger, it's just glued the whole page, the back of one to the front of the next one, and the back of that one to the front of the next one. And then I've used, in this example, a paper clip in a heart shape to hold the device so that when it's pulled around and the clip is used as a way of holding all those layers together, it holds it together. But I have a couple others to show you. There's other ways that you can do this. In this example, instead of a 5-pointed star, I thought it might be fun. I tried making a thank you card. So I've used just flowers. Instead of a clip, I've tied it shut with ribbon. So I'm going to just untie the bow and open it up, and you'll see that instead of photos, I just have cut out flowers, and I have ladybugs and dragonflies and butterflies that are hanging. But instead of 5 points, when you pull this one around, it's a 4-pointed star. I think I prefer the 5-pointed star better. I like the look of it more, but there's one less that you have to make if you do the 4 points. So if I stop to, let me show you how this works. Instead of the clip, if you just retie the bow once you pull the front around to the back. If you're sending this to somebody, they may not know how to do it. So somewhere on your card, you want to write, I usually put it on the back, to pull the front around to touch the back. So that's how that goes together. And then this was my Christmas card several years ago. Same idea. This one also has ribbon that holds it closed, but it's a 5-pointed star. And in this example, every one, it was faster and easier for me to have every one of these pages match. So each one is the same thing. I just repeated it 5 times. And once again, it's attached, it's held in place by just tying a bow in order to create that 5-pointed star. You know, the only thing that makes a handmade dimensional display even better is the addition of your family photos.